you know, I did not.
Says identify two owners, officers, or partners.
Right, so I'm gonna have you and Tom, and then I'll have Tom.
I'll just leave it after.
Yeah, that sounds good. Perfect.
I've seen Tom's signature, so I'll
I know.
small. No. Yep, I didn't spend enough time at work today to.
Number 3, I should put changes or updates to the agenda. You agendize if you want it, like if, so like when we move something around.
Yeah.
I should have had that.
Okay, at 7 o'clock, we'll get her started.
Yeah.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Okay. So did everybody get a chance to read over the minutes from 12/8? Yep. All right, do I have a motion to approve December 8th meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve board meeting minutes from December 8th.
I got a first from Marlene, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Sarah seconds, any public comment? Board comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, perfect, motion carried. All right, did you guys get a chance to look through the warrants for today? Any questions there? All right, do I have a motion to approve the warrants for January 12th?
I'll make a motion to approve the warrants through January 12th.
All right, Julie has a first, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Sarah seconds. Any public comment? Board comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, we do not have any public comment for today, so we'll move forward. We'll do any communications?
Nope.
Perfect. That was easy. Moving forward, into student rep report.
Homesick.
Okay, perfect. Staff report?
Well, it's me again. We just started our middle of the year MAST and benchmark testing window today. And the Cadence reading benchmark data also provides for our House Bill 352 early literacy. We've had ongoing meetings and trainings and updates scheduled with Strive as part of our Montana Reads grant. Our primary focus for this year is oral language. Next year, we will have to have one of our grant goals aligned with that. So we purchased a program called TELTED, which is a focus on oral language for grades K through, pre-K through first. And on February 6th, we'll hold a training for our K through 6 staff to get ready for our iReady ELA pilot. We're looking at aligning our curriculum across grade levels to ensure consistency. Our Montana Reads grant budget has been approved and Darcy is now able to make cash requests. Big thanks to Carol for help with that. We couldn't have done it without her. District monitoring for this grant begins this month and the first required report will be February 5th. And we have some science of reading training coming up. The first one is on January 23rd, and it is going to be focused on grades K through 6 on data-driven decision-making. And our OPI grant liaison from Helena will be here on January 20th, and then our on-site grant consultant will be here on the 21st and 22nd. And then upcoming with kids, because we didn't have school with the power outage, we obviously had the program the day after, and then, we had a student day planned for that afternoon, and so we ended up moving that until, last Thursday. So the kids were able to watch Happy Feet with their, big links, little links, so that was fun. We have many activities coming up, such as skiing, snow school, Lego League, wax museum, 4th grade is going to the symphony, and then, I know I'm missing something, aren't I? There's a lot happening. If I miss something, let me know.
Thank you. All right, PTSL report.
I see you back there. It's not me.
I didn't come for that.
Hey.
PTSL took over for concessions, and we had our first, official concession takeover last home game.
Sounds hostile.
But,
Sounds hostile.
We're gonna take over.
Take over.
and they did really well. So Stevie and I are still trying to figure everything out and get everything ordered, and, Becky McMickle is gonna be now in charge of doing the reader board. So if you guys want anything on there, she's your gal. The upcoming, we have kindness, is that, actually, I don't even remember. Kindness, and student council's gonna take over that,
Yeah, they will do the cocoa bar again.
and they'll, yeah, and
And
stuff.
so I told April she needed anything or reimbursement for materials or for the refreshments that she could let us know, so she said she was set.
I think that was like the major thing, so.
It was nice of Becky to volunteer to take over the reader board.
Yeah,
That was
that's a
super
big one.
nice For her to volunteer to do that, so.
Yeah, so I think she started it
Yeah,
already,
she has.
so, yeah, that's it.
Thank you. All right, Gage, you have one?
This upcoming weekend, the 18th and 19th, is the MHSA annual meeting in Helena. So I will be there the 18th and the 19th. Tom will join on the 19th. I'm excited. There's a lot of meetings, learning opportunities, so it'll be a good weekend. Tom and I kind of workshopped a form to present to coaches following a good evaluation in the postseason. So we're calling it the intent to return. If they have had a successful season, we feel that they met all the expectations that we have, then they sign this saying that they intend to return for the next season. With the understanding that it's not a guarantee that we will offer them the position, it is ultimately still up to the board, but it just gives us some clarity on what positions we may need to be looking into versus which positions we have filled. Basketball is going good. Boys are 8-0, girls are 6-2, and junior high started last Monday. So we've got basketball on basketball. I started a Facebook page. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but I did start a Facebook page. I've been posting the weekly schedules and like game days and then results. So if there's anything else you guys want to see, let me know. But I was just trying to reach that generation that may not come to the games but still wants to know. So
What is it listed under?
Lincoln Public School Athletics.
Okay.
So I've tried posting Lincoln Live with it, but it always says like pending approval. So you just have to search it. It's getting a little bit more. If you need help looking it up, like I can try to send it to you if you want it. That was how we kind of got it on the going. So, but yeah, it's got schedules, results for games and stuff, and Wendy typically will share it as well. So if you know Wendy,
Sure.
yeah,
Well, sometimes the dates seem to change, which I get that, but where we're not in the system really.
And the most
It's a nice
up-to-date
place to
schedule
go.
will always be the school website. As soon as I get any changes, I send it to Laura and she updates it. So that is the most accurate, is to look at the school website and the schedule that we have posted there. Over Christmas break, our high school teams were able to practice in Helmville, and those went well. I think the coaches were appreciative of having a space to get some practices in. I am planning on having the kids sign like a thank you card that we can send to their group so that we can make sure that they know that we definitely appreciated it. And then the newest development was today, a couple of board meetings ago, I think we talked about Augusta approaching us for football co-op. At the time, they were pretty adamant about they would host everything. It wouldn't be split. We wouldn't get any home games, anything. It looks like on their end, their football program won't have numbers unless they do a co-op. So they reached out to us about co-oping, and they are open to the concept of it being more of a 50-50 split. I have told Tom about it, and I've told Peyton about it, but I feel like moving forward we should include the boys that are planning on playing football next year. That would be a travel commitment for us if it is something that we decided to move forward with. So I think just making sure that they're aware of what could possibly happen. But again, it's just a conversation, and then Jeanette is planning on being at the meeting this weekend, so the three of us can have a conversation about what that might even look like.
So we were approached, and certainly, you know, we should find out what it entails and what the options are. Lincoln Lampkins hosted the end of season district football meeting with all the coaches and things like that. So we asked some questions because there was a number of schools there that do co-op, and the deadline for submitting your intent to co-op for the next year had already passed. And so we asked folks there, and they go, hey, look, it's really not a hard deadline. The hard deadline is the meeting in January. So we go, okay, we'll at least explore what this looks like with Augusta, because we graduated a number of seniors this year, and we put the list on my whiteboard in my room. I mean, we look at a solid 6 to start the year, with some maybes. And so our numbers are not, so I think it's a decent conversation to have. They were very clear that no, if we co-op, we'd have to go to them 100% of the time. Kind of shut down the conversation nicely. They're now back at us. The meeting's now in a few days, and we're at no position to make a commitment to it by the meeting, because that would be a board approved decision. So, but our numbers do look a little thin, and even when we count 6, we're counting 2 seniors. When we count 8, 2 of the maybes, we're now at 4 seniors. So we're looking pretty thin for a few years, you know, just with the backfilling pretty young too, overnight. So, but how hard is the hard deadline in January? We don't know, but at least you guys know we're having that conversation. And I like how Claire stated it is what do those numbers look if the kids knew then, you know, it's an hour to Augusta, right? Mm-hmm. You know, so that's a big commitment. You know, 1 week there, 1 week here, every other day. I don't know what it.
Would you have to bus them or?
We have a transportation issue. We have a coaching issue. We have, you know, and certainly other people have been doing it, so it's not, you know, that relationship piece is pretty critical. What do their standards look like versus ours, you know, expectations and stuff. But I think if we want to maintain a program, and it could possibly be something that will kind of bridge us till our numbers are looking a whole lot better when we start to get into after a few years. You know, our high school numbers and our boys participating like in junior high basketball and stuff like that start to look pretty good. So.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Clerk report?
Okay. So to start off, as you know, we have the election coming up in May, and we
we have the declaration of intent and oath of candidacy for trustee candidate form out there. So far, we haven't received any. We do have it posted on the website, front door, and at the post office. So we're just kind of, the deadline for that is February 9th. So we still have some time. And then we have the mail ballot written plan, which I was hoping to get done by this board meeting, but it'll have to be the next one, but it has to be approved 60 days before the election, so we have plenty of time. And then, like Joni said, that we had the grants approved, and we were able to submit 4 cash requests, 2 each for Title I and Montana Read. So far we were requested from Title I $36,082, and from Montana Read's grant $67,460. So that's great. And those were both approved, or all approved. And then I think Julie, you might have asked about this in the past, the innovative tax credits. That I'm sorry, I'm having a hot flash. But anyway, so this is for, we kind of looked into it a little bit last year. We had 2 donations to kind of see how it worked. And then, so this year, so far we've created a website on the school website that has all the information. And then the day that it opens is January 21st, and it's kind of a first come, first serve. So it's kind of late to get the word out to the community right now, but I think at the beginning of the school year next year we'll be set. We can send out information to the school community and also Lincoln community about how that tax program works. And it's local residents can do a tax donation to Lincoln Public School directly. And then I guess it shows up the following year. So we're still kind of learning that process, but we should be ready to go 100% at the start of this next school year. And then we have the lunch audit that's coming up. So I'll be working with Alyssa and Michelle closely. It's tentatively scheduled for March 19th, and this will be both an on-site and off-site review. They're going to go over meal counting, production records, civil rights training, all those documents to make sure that everyone's up to par on that. And then wellness policy, food safety. They have this new thing where it's Buy America, so American, so we have to make sure that we're buying enough American products. So they're going to be looking at that. And then the summer food program, and then procurement. And then, so that'll be a big deal coming up, Melissa. And then transportation, we have our second semester bus inspections that are due, and Lori and Doug are on top of that. They'll have that to us this week and have to submit it to the county superintendent by Thursday, so that'll be good. And then most important is we had the W-2s and the 1099s all balanced for 2025, and those were all mailed out, and we're good to go. The only change with that is that, I don't know if you heard with the President Trump's, what is it called? Awesome Big Beautiful Bill Act or something like that, I'm sorry. Anyways, it's a new tax deduction for any qualified hourly employee who works overtime, that they can deduct that time from their taxes. And it's new this year, so they don't have it, our accounting software doesn't have it completely set up. So we sent a letter to all of our hourly employees letting them know to wait to file their taxes until we can get this program in our accounting software where it can break out that overtime for them. And then when they file their taxes is when they're going to deduct it. So their W-2s will not change, it'll just be a deduction. So, and I think that's it, that's all I have.
Darcy, am I allowed to ask right now which positions are up? What?
Oh, for the board?
Yeah, like what, is it 1 year or is it
It's a 3 year, sorry, 3 year.
It's me. Yes, it's me that's it's me that's up. I didn't say it's me that's done. Don't give me that look. I just wrote down the date. I forgot.
And then Tom's going to
You see it says budget interim, but Darcy will kill me if I expect her because
I know.
it's my presentation. So I've been talking about like just doing a kind of a mid-year snapshot as to kind of how our budget's looking. If you guys ever want, it takes a while to look through this, but Darcy gives this to me at the end of each month, and it's basically all the bills paid, everything we've expended to that month. And the last column is like what percent we've committed of what we appropriated at the beginning of the year. So it's kind of just a really good tool to kind of see how you're tracking. Please understand, we set a budget and it's not exact science. And so there's some areas, I'll pick on Alyssa because we got in and I'll tell you why. And so I'm sorry we can't put that right there so we could all share it. You guys are in a bad spot. But so then I was thinking, okay, I should probably do something like a PowerPoint. And then I look at my chicken scratch and I go, okay, now I have to put this into a PowerPoint situation, and I'm not very good at it. So you look around, and then the first person I go to is a 28-year-old, and I say, hey, how good are you at this? I'm really good. But then they take some liberties when they put together your PowerPoint. So I'll just let you enjoy some of the, what's that?
You have to enable it.
Okay, yeah, so we'll go to slideshow and we'll from the beginning. See, why did, okay, there's no way in heck I could have done that. So, anyway, and yes.
Well, that's fancy.
Yeah, so, anyway,
You do that?
yeah, we're gonna go, so hopefully it won't detract, but I think you can see a few features. So we're gonna start with our general fund, and big one there is the subcategory of instruction. So you can read this, is we appropriated 1.388 million. Okay, so that, you with me, that's million, okay, for the year. The year to date, we spent $570,000. This past month, we spent $90,000. I mean, this is where the big chunk of our salaries come out of and things like that. So, but what I really like is the far there is of what we appropriated, we've expended 41% as of the end of December.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not exact science because we start this in July to December is 6 months. And so you go, oh, good job, you're under the 50%, right? But how money gets spent in schools and you don't maybe spend a lot in July, but then you come back and you hit things hard and stuff. So again, it's not exact, but kind of happy with that. Then you get into special instruction, that's special education, again, salaries. We appropriated $130,000 for the year, month, nothing extraordinarily, so we're at about 38% there. Again, this is all underneath your general fund dollars. Vocational education, expected to spend around 146. We're slightly under kind of that 41, so we're at 31% there. So kind of liking these numbers as we go down. Extracurricular, do we not budget enough? Why are we did have a football season that extended a lot longer, so maybe some expenditures there. And what I like about this also is I'm asking myself these own questions, because I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong, but why is that? Do we need to necessarily budget a little bit more next year, or did we have something that, all of a sudden gas prices went way more, so our transportation went up, kind of thing. Or also some of these areas, because then I'll pick on Alyssa again, we get in food services, do we front load certain things? Do we spend a lot of money early in the year on certain, because you guys are getting the big things here, right? You're getting the big swaths of things, but you look at something like, we completely expended what we budgeted for, so there's nothing left there, but it was one item, right? So it's kind of, you just have to kind of look at, and then, but it's good conversations to have. So extracurricular, we budgeted $102,000 for the year. Please know that 90+% of that is athletics. I mean, it's almost exclusively that. Not food services, so we'd be a little high there, but again, I asked, like Alyssa, what I really liked the conversation is, first time she's been included in that conversation. And that's the person I want to have the conversation, because like one time, when I was a principal, district office from up high, you have to cut 10%. Well then, but when I went out to my staff and go, how can we do it? We did it in about 10 minutes. It was easy to do. We weren't told what had to be cut. We were able to figure out, why are we paying for that? We don't even do that anymore. But sometimes, it's just that communication piece. But like with food services, I was asking things, I buy a lot of things in bulk at the beginning of the year, plates, that, to, the non-perishables, kind of things. So, and then, so that's your total of your general fund, obviously driven primarily by your instructional one, because that's where you're most weighted with your funds there. So I think we're doing, fairly well. When we get into the instructions, please know that in certain areas, when I get into our grants, is we had to, hey, we're gonna pay for so-and-so salary out of this grant, and the big chunk of Montana Reach, which is $300,000 for the year, hasn't hit the books yet. So we've had to pull that, we've had to pay people, and that's had to come. So this will fluctuate, and I'll point out some of the big differences as we go forward throughout the year. So then we're gonna get into, so that's general fund, that's our big guy that we wanted to talk about. But just some other interesting ones. Transportation's floating around right where we wanted to be. Transportation is our home to school. It doesn't include a lot of our extracurricular transportation costs. Foods are, again, Alyssa, but anyway, and but then some of these general fund, some of the money comes only for food services. So we appropriate a bunch of money in general fund because we know it's going to take a hit on our general fund food services. But what money do we get specifically that can only be spent on food? And the rule of thumb is the most restricted dollars you always spend first, and you keep the flexible stuff, as back as long as you can. So retirement, kind of, that's another one of our big funds. Go pleased with where we are there. And then most miscellaneous, you only see we appropriated $210,000. That number only really, it's the lion's share of that right now is your Title I, which is 150 of that, but then you have REAP, you have Carl Perkins, you have a little tiny bit of the literacy grant where we just started the year, so it only shows 210,000. As soon as the literacy hits the books, it's gonna change so many things. But that's why, since the literacy grant has not hit the books yet, why we've spent more money there than it would have shown. And so then we have a $25,000 technology account. We've been paying for technology as we go, like Laura bought a bunch of computers at the beginning of the year. We take that out of grant dollars. We can't, but that's a flexible fund that we have. We know that technology can be a hit, but we have it there. We take care of the technology elsewhere before we get into there. So I hope to keep that at zero for the year. So that's a good place to go. So I was in a good mood until I saw these next two. Okay, so how do you read the .1? So we allocated into a building fund $177 for the year. We haven't spent it, that's good news, but it's not a whole lot. Our building reserve is $119. So really when I this is important to get down into that kind of needs. Well, relax, okay? So if you look at building reserve, that's where you would start to put the money slowly in case you wanted to build a building. And we know building and buildings are expensive. So we're not starting from zero, that's good news. But we're pretty close to it. So anyway, but let's say you were in huge negotiations with staff and you guys got all this money that you'd want, but you also have you got to build this building or something, So you might have several $100,000. We built a classroom once, but it was a special education classroom, full kitchen, full bathrooms, full, nice area, and laundry and stuff. So we knew we had to get to $500,000. That's where we would pump that. We would allocate money at the end of the year knowing that we needed to build that in the next 5 years. So the fact that you don't, that's not like your ongoing maintenance. But as part of my report is, I'm gonna report, hey, our sand separated or in our well just is going out. It's still functioning, but we're gonna, that's $2,000. That's not really where we're talking about there. You're talking about a big building. But we have talked about facilities, so we're not necessarily starting from scratch. So that's an area to pay attention to. Okay, and so then the last couple things I'd like to talk about is our interlocal. Also, we appropriated 180. Well, we don't really approach it. We've had that there, right? We did in August spend 32,000 out of that because that was from lingering bills from last year. I don't know if you guys remember that. And so I was looking at that, what was that hit? And then I went and talked to Darcy and so like that. So that's what I would call our reserves. That's what we have there. We do have a couple of scholarships funds, so we don't really get to count that because that's truly this kids. I would have $54,000 there, and then so that's all our funds. So but you got to look at the total appropriated. It's going to be more than that when the Montana Reads hits there, and then but I don't really like to look at a few of those funds, like that scholarship fund. I wouldn't really count that because that goes to kids scholarships. That's not something we use for, you don't get to touch that. Yeah, it's for kids. So, and yeah, some of those are quite restricted funds too. But overall, fairly pleased with how we're kind of marching along. We haven't had terribly unforeseen things, knock on wood, that have happened. But the more we discuss it, the more we involve staff, the more we involve our community, the better kind of discussions we have. And so each time I look at it, I run in and ask Darcy a question. If she doesn't know it offhand, she'll find it out for me. And I did it 19 times one day when she was trying to do the minutes, which were pretty lengthy. So from last meeting. So anyway, that's kind of where I can kind of in somewhat understand it in my head. Spelled to you. So any questions? Okay.
I like PowerPoint.
Yeah. Thanks. But I'll try to do, maybe not as, with all that, but, a few times, this is something we check very, very closely and how it looks. I don't mind ever coming, not deficit spending this year would be awesome. That's always a good thing. So, okay, so that's your clerk report.
Appreciate it. All right, superintendent report?
Okay, a little recap from we had a parent night right before we went on to break, and I really appreciate a bunch of folks were here, and I appreciate folks coming. we're required to reach out to folks and talk about Title I and literacy and engage parents and try to see what they have to say. And that's great. We certainly did that night, but I like it because I just like to open up and have a conversation. So we had a nice turnout, about 20 folks. I've set these up and had 2. I just like to open it up. I found our discussions around safety of students. That was a good lengthy discussions, and and it also kind of segued into our discussion on facilities. And so I would think those were probably the most interactive ones. We kind of required to talk about the curriculum and stuff like that, and sometimes that may get, we get excited about it, but may not be the most exciting topic, but those were, I just definitely, and we'll continue to kind of figure that out. Last month I talked about administrative assistant, was going to agendize that, and I decided I'd like to put that on hold. I'd like to really have that as part of more of a restructuring, some of our restructuring ideas going forward, and so I'll bring that back. But kind of started working on maybe like a job description and realized we really need more work on our job descriptions as a whole, and I'd also really look at a kind of restructured, not more money, but a restructure of a lot of our non-teaching positions, so that really, we have people, job descriptions aligned with really what their duties are. And in several cases, we have people who are supervising other employees, but not necessarily the job description that aligns with that. I think that's important to kind of get, so that's why I decided to kind of take a step back from that, because I'd like to include that in some of this. So I'll be talking about that further. I did, I'm gonna pick on Alyssa a lot tonight. So Alyssa does not show up. She does not show up. No, she is unable to attend our weekly meetings on Wednesday mornings because she's serving students food at that time. And so I realized I was probably a little behind on getting the calendar discussion for the 2026-2027 school year up and going. So we talked about it, and then before 9 o'clock, I had emailed all the staff, and I said, hey, look, don't shoot the guy who did this, but as a starting point, here is the calendar for 2026, 2027 that simply reflects what this year's calendar is. If you take this year's calendar and you put it on next year's dates, this is what it would look like. So real quickly, what everyone got.
Second option was better.
What's that?
Second option was better.
Oh, well, yeah, they're gonna get to see it. So anyway, I will say one of the more I'll just say entertaining part of my jobs is working on the calendar, because it elicits a lot of passion, and that's, why is it not coming up? Oh, maybe I gotta tell it to. And so that's this year's calendar next year. So it's basically starting the same week in August, having PIR days, the Thursday, Friday, same week. Christmas sometimes gets funky when you look at where Christmas falls, and the 2 weeks that are traditional there, and then getting out. It's really just a day off. We're not throwing the leap years. So it's 150.5 student instruction days, PI days, and it only reflects PIR days, but know that there's 7 because you have parent conferences. The last day, the 4th, is records keeping day where you get half a day. There's a flex PIR day and stuff. So that's what it looks like. So I guess traditionally, the superintendent provides options. And I had not intended on doing that because they're just gonna get ripped to shreds anyway. And so Alyssa goes, Tom, that's your option? And so I, knowing my sense of humor, I decided, okay, here's an option. So there's option 1. And that starts on first day of school on Saturday, August 1st, and last day of school is on January 27th. We go 6 days, okay, we don't need to waste time on it. But, so anyway, we had some fun with it, so, I don't know, hopefully it'll turn on. Okay, so, it is one of those things that, so tomorrow we meet, and I do think my emails say let the games begin, because there is just one thing I ask is that we ultimately, apparently we vote on it as a staff. That's fine and great, but you guys have to make the call, and you can toss everything out, do we want to stay with a 4-day week? Everything's really open. One thing, because, I'll stop telling the story, but when I was working with different unions, I would have the union rep from the non-teachers, the classified folks, and I'd have the teacher union rep, and I'd have the two, my principals and myself, and we'd sit down and have the calendar meeting. And so the union rep for the teachers, he'd done it forever. And finally, one of the middle school teachers who was teaching my boys said, hey, Tom, why do we have to take the first week in April off? And I go, I don't know, why do we? And, well, we're told we have to. And I go, okay, we don't have to. We've been doing it for a number of years. And she goes, and she wanted the spring break attached to Easter, either beforehand or, to go back to more traditional thing. And I just go, yeah, it's not happened here. It's always been the first week, that I, in the last 10 years or so. And so she challenged it in her union meeting, and she actually became the rep. Well, it ended up that they'd been told by their person it has to be the first week because the individual had a timeshare the first week in April. And so I just asked that, there can be, we try to keep our personal biases at bay, and we're all guilty of that, and things. So we're gonna meet tomorrow and bring back. One thing we did do in one district, because I finally got tired of kind of repeating the same kind of things, is we passed a calendar for 3 years. And we said, you can always change it, but basically this is gonna be our calendar, and these are the reasons why. Here's where we are gonna start, here's where we're gonna finish, and then we just revisited once a year, and it was a much faster process to look at that. So, I'm in a new district, and this will be new, so it's a good conversation, and if you have any input you'd like me to bring to the meeting tomorrow, just let me know. I try to stay out of it, but it's, I've heard, maybe we should start a week later and finish a week later, okay? Well, the weather in June is pretty variable, which, I was here a couple times, and yeah, perfect in August. But then I also asked, what makes best sense for our students and our parents? We don't have to take 2 weeks off at Christmas. But if you're in the southern part of the United States and all the kids go to Mexico for 3 weeks and they don't come back, even though you have 2 weeks, what makes sense for attendance? And you look at that 4-day week. Claire will be working at, trying to align our athletic schedule to look at minimizing. I kind of see volleyball's kind of crept back into, a lot of midweek games, but, you know, kind of prioritizing what our student and parents' needs are. Okay, so the calendar's been fun. Reader board, that was mentioned, thank you, Becky, you know, for taking that on. I did bring up the sand separator, so we'll be looking at, does look like it has to be replaced, not something you can necessarily fix. Congratulations to BPA, 19 students qualified to go to state. Not a record, apparently, but good solid number. And with that is a change to the March board date's gonna need to happen if we want run of there, because they'll be at state in Billings on that date. And also we're looking at buying an app, I think it's about $90 a year, but it's a transcribing, watching Darcy for the better part of a couple days, doing, if we can get a way to make doing our minutes more efficient. I think that technology's out there, we should be taking advantage of.
Recommended by Sir.
Oh, yeah, that's right, thank you, sir, that's right.
I tested a lot of them,
Yes.
and the one I liked, I immediately came and told Darcy that
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
was the best one I found.
Yeah, the amount of time I see her doing that, I thought it was the best purchase we could make.
Definitely.
That's my report.
Awesome, thank you. We'll discuss changing the meeting at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll,
We'll agendize that. but
yeah,
the
we'll
next meeting
agendize
so we
it
can-
and you guys can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we change it, you guys have to do that. Cool.
All right, the old business for, school trust land.
Okay, hot off the press, right in front of you, I think I have one or so extra copy, is we have, a tentative agreement, with the, Blackfoot, Pathway Sculpture and the Wild Folks, and, so that would be, renewing our agreement with them. It expires on, February 28th of this year, and they need an agreement so they can get their land use license renewed. So, a couple highlights to see, you'll see a lot of the, you know, similarities with the last one is, the term is a 3-year term, changed from a previous 5-year term. Use of premises, some, you know, to some additional, language there where, it just, you know, clearly states, you know, they understood that the district has an easement which allows us to do X, and sculpture folks have a land use license that allows them to do Y, and we won't interfere with, you know, those rights established there. And big additions, I did talk to our insurance carriers, and they looked at the agreement and they requested that we add some language there as far as insurance goes. So I think that, Annette, did I summarize that?
I think so.
Okay, I think that would be the big changes you would see or additions. And you also see that their executive director, Aaron, and Becky Garland, their chair, have signed it. So nothing to move on right now because this was done Thursday afternoon after the board packet went out. And I think you guys would need some time to look at it, maybe ask some questions. So on the next agenda item, I have us looking at changing dates and maybe discussing some special board meetings. I got a feeling, and Annette, you can state is they probably like this approved as soon as possible, because they have to get it off to DNRC, and, you know, so hopefully they don't have a lapse in the time of their land use license and stuff. So if you take a look at that and basically take this as a first reading of that, so we can look through that.
If I could just say, we were really pleased with the last meeting and are hopeful that you guys will approve the MOU, and we're looking forward to moving forward. I kind of like the 3-year version instead of a 5 also. It just seems to make better sense.
Yeah, and I agree, and it requires us to formally, you know, just, hey, has anything really changed since the last time, and where are we, and, you know, with, you know, some of the district needs, and where
And school board members.
and yeah,
I mean,
and
potentially, they could all be gone.
Yeah.
The next
Right.
time around
Absolutely.
in 5 years, so.
Yeah.
So as far as the special board meeting to approve, anybody have any specific dates that don't work?
yeah, I don't need you guys to make a motion to set a special board meeting, but I have you here, and we can discuss it, and then I can just go ahead and, you know, plan on it. You know, next couple weeks if you want. We can approve it, and I'll also, you know, I won't waste your time coming here, I'll, you know, I'll always have stuff I can talk about. But no, actually some work, we can do.
So you'll just pick a time, day and notice?
Yeah, does
Okay.
anything, like a week from today, 5 o'clock, is that 5:30?
Yeah, I'm busy next Monday.
What's that?
I'm busy next Monday,
Okay,
but any other day of the week
next Tuesday?
is good.
I mean-
Tuesday is a bad day. Wednesday.
So don't really be more than Wednesday, correct? I'm good
Well,
Wednesday.
there's junior high game on Tuesday.
Okay, Wednesday,
Wednesday works.
I'm good Wednesday.
5:30, 6,
5:30 is
Yeah,
great.
fine.
5:30, alright, okay,
Wednesday.
so that doesn't require any, you know.
Yeah.
okay.
But then we just still post it, right?
Yeah, so if we're doing it Wednesday, I will have things posted before Thursday,
Yeah.
Thursday, I'll just post a special.
Right.
Annette, can I ask you to let,
She's on it.
Becky and Aaron know?
Yeah,
Okay, so 5:30 next Wednesday?
Yeah.
What's the date?
That's the 21st.
Okay,
Alright, so the next one, board meeting start times and special board meetings.
okay, we had brought this up last time, I would need a motion to change the start to regular board meetings. The recommendation from staff would be to move it up, to whatever time you decide.
I'm in agreement. What time works for everybody?
I mean, I personally don't have any issue with it, I guess my only thing is if you move it up too far, then if we get somebody on the board who does work in Helena, then it's hard for them to come back, so I probably wouldn't make it at like 5 o'clock.
But we could always adjust it from there.
Yeah. I just know consistency is key, so a lot of times in this town, if you keep it at, you know, the same time consistently, then people always know when it's at. But I personally have no strong feeling either way, whenever you
I
guys
think even
want.
like 6, just, I mean,
Even
because that
an
way,
hour,
if you
yeah.
depend,
I like
I mean, if
6.
it goes 2 hours, we're
Yeah.
still home by 8.
I like 6.
Do the teachers have a preference?
I've yet to, I mentioned that at our leadership team meeting, this morning, like, hey, you know, Joni,
I think it was a positive.
Julie, have you heard anything that would,
I think it is nicer, I mean, like an earlier time overall is. But again, I mean, you guys are the ones that have to come and be here and do all the work, so what works for you also.
and how, you know, does it facilitate, you know, public participation too? We have to consider that.
I think 6 would be good.
Yeah.
So would we be switching, so special board meetings would fall in the same?
Special board meetings, you can call for any time you like.
Okay. Did you have any more more comment on special board meetings, or were you?
No, probably, just be paying attention. I think, it'd be great if, like, if you set a special board meeting, there's gotta be a reason, right? Like, there's work that has to get done and can't wait till the next one. But also, I think the value of working one is sometimes you have, it's great to get like almost like a board workshop, and so obviously for all you guys to get together, we have to agendize it and stuff, but, there's been discussion like, policies and stuff like that, and stuff that, takes, you have one item, you can chunk out, a solid hour and a half to really work on that one item. So it doesn't take a lengthy one, you have students here making presentations, or also like ones in which we have, some facilities stuff coming up. And, we can dedicate it, to that one item and really do a deeper dive into that. That was kind of what I was thinking. So we're not like, last one, I kind of felt there was a few important things, but, you're, oh man, just pushing it through, and stuff, is I don't think really effective. But we have a special board meeting coming up, so.
Perfect. All right, so we'll need approval for, changing the meeting to 6 PM, so do I have a motion to change the school board meeting, to 6 PM on the second Monday of the month? Is that a second?
I will make a motion to change the meeting times to 6 o'clock.
I have a motion from Julie, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, second, Marlene. Public comment? Board comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Excellent. All right, second reading of the homeschool participation. Extracurricular. Oh, I have it somewhere.
Presented this last month, is just, again, following, the law, which, allows homeschool students to participate in extracurriculars, and it specifically says, they're to be held to the same standards of the kids going to school here, so, realized maybe we could have some better language that, when we met with the homeschool student and parents, these are our expectations.
Did anybody have any changes or thoughts?
I think it sounds good. I like it.
All right. So we're going to approve? Okay. A motion to approve the homeschool participation extracurricular activities agreement.
I make a motion to approve the homeschool participation in extracurricular activities agreement.
All right, Marlene has a first, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Sarah, second. Public comment? Board comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Perfect. Thank you. All right, proposed changes to the student handbook regarding parent.
Okay, these are just some suggestions. This is, and we can discuss it, and I can come back with it. We can improve it as is, or, discussion here. So, based upon, last month's discussion, and just, kind of sitting down and doing some thinking regarding, being at games now and seeing what we have, what would best, kind of facilitate us managing, games and stuff. So, I basically crossed out number 1 and replaced it, there, and bring it back. Look, this is just get the ball rolling as far as, discussion. What I really liked was, and would like to see us have, and eventually, you know, something like this could be part of our beginning of year packet, would be really the agreement form that the student and the parents would sign, and all students would sign. So if they want to attend a game, and participate in extracurriculars, you know, we require the signature. And then there it just, you know, kind of got down into, you know, basically our expectations for conduct at games, and that, you know, game management could ask you to leave, and then, you know, that could then restrict. If a kid did something kind of low level, but they were asked to leave, minimum I would think was like, yeah, you can come back to you know, next week's game, but you have to come with a parent. That'd be minimum. If not, like, no, you're not going to be allowed for a week or something, you know, kind of thing. It's you know, and I've you know, a couple of you guys had some questions, so, you know, I kind of answered, and then I also kind of put some examples, because I liked saying to folks is like, look, we have a game. So if you drop your kid off here for school, and it's regular school hours, you as a parent have the right to expect your kid to be supervised at all times, right? I mean, that would be a reasonable expectation. If they come to a game and you drop them off for a game, I think it's reasonable that they be supervised at the game, at where the game is played. But like our example is, little kids get bored of a football game and they're all playing behind us, and it would be whack-a-mole to prevent that. And it doesn't, yeah, I'll go, Claire will go over, you know, you'll go over there, but it's not something where, I want people to acknowledge, I understand, there's no supervision there. It's just, it's not reasonable for us to do that. At the game itself, concession area, entrance, you know, that's, you could say parking lot, even though, you know, I mean, kind of can see it, you know, so, but we just don't have the staff. So, but like a volleyball game, the basketball game the other night, we had 3 games. We had some younger students. All their parents were there. They were all staff kids. All their parents were working the game. They were doing the clock. They were doing the book, and they were doing the concessions. You know, it was, you know, and they were great, but they weren't necessarily supervised. But you know, I mean, I said, guys, get in the stands, you know, because they were down in this one corner. I finally just like, okay. And it started out like 3 of them were fine, and they were never doing anything wrong. But it was, you know, after, you know, 3 games is 4.5 hours of games, you know, 1.5 hours per game. So it just, oh, did I do nothing? Oh, and it's just, it's a long time for younger kids. So in volleyball, when the weather's really nice, if they walk outside or playing on the playground, I really don't have a problem with that. And to say that we're going to be vigilant to track that is just not reasonable as far as our supervision goes. So that's some of the thought process when I was putting this, you know, together. But know that, you know, hey, look, you did sign something, and if something does happen out there, you're probably going to, you know, lose some privileges.
So if a student shows up and they're at the game and they don't have a parent, or they don't have this signed, will you?
We would try to track that very early in the year.
Okay.
Get on top of it.
Okay, with the regular school packet.
With the regular schools. So yeah, you know, it's that's the easiest time to do it, because then you have these major checklists, you know, and stuff. So really, like all our athletes would have to sign it, you know, because we would say, you know, but yeah, you know, we track that early, and then probably just have a list there at the gate who was not, you know, allowed, you know, to be there. So. But like one good question was, do we want something that requires parents to be there? The cutest darn thing is Big Links, Little Links, and I just got that, but watching Melissa's daughter Hartley as the Little Links and Rogan as the Big Links. So by policy, let's say it's 2 years from now, they're buddies. Rogan decides, hey, Hartley, let's go to the ball game. By policy, he's not the parent or guardian, and our policy currently says like older siblings don't count, and we have like Becky McMichaels doing the gate a lot, who doesn't know people, I don't want to set also our staff up, for something like that. Whereas, hey, we have certain kids whose behavior, no, you're because I had a young man who was, because there was kids playing on the playground. He never came in the game, but he was screwing around. I had to tell parents, hey, he's during these events, he's not on, because he was on his little mini bike on the playground, ripping around, and it's like, and that like I said, that would be fun, but it was no, come on, he doesn't belong. So
Any questions on?
So do we not wanna have any expectation of kids of a certain age need to have a parent? Like, I just don't want somebody to be like, oh, it doesn't say they have to have a parent, so I'm gonna drop my kindergartner off to sit here on the bleacher and I'm gonna leave, and then we have to watch the kindergartner.
yeah,
I
and
think there's a certain
hopefully,
age
yeah,
that
I agree with Sarah,
they
and
kinda have
and-
enough sense
yeah.
to police themselves a little bit. But I almost think like pre-K through third grade needs to have some form of adult.
I was thinking
Or
sixth
somebody
season.
responsible. I said sixth, but then thinking like, my second grader's pretty responsible.
But if you have an older kid
But-
babysitting the kids and,
Yeah, Leah babysits her sister.
I could add to the current agreement if a bullet point, if you were dropping off a student this grade or below, so like I imagined is you pull up with your second grader and you're dropping them off, and your buddy, the adult, is in there with their second grader, and they're gonna walk. And
Right.
so your kid, how much it costs a second grader to come in, I don't know, $4 or whatever,
Yeah,
and come in and stuff, is like, if that was done, then like somehow we know that,
Right.
cause like, no, you can't come in, and it's
Yeah.
just, but if like a kindergartner got dropped off and truly wasn't with someone, hopefully we'd identify that fairly quickly, and then that would be a conversation that I would just have privately with that family, like, no, that's, we don't do that.
I guess I'm just, I'd rather make it clear in the beginning.
Right, so
About it.
we could, but I could add that to a bullet point, is the agreement is, all third grade or under will be supervised by a designated adult.
Yeah.
Adult or something. You want me to do that?
I mean, yeah. Depends on what everybody else thinks. That would be my personal
Okay.
preference, but.
I was
although I
going
kinda
sixth.
get stuck on the adult part too, because, you have a sophomore in high school babysitting and they take the kids to
Right.
get, they're not an adult, but they're responsible enough to
Pretty
babysit those
responsible
kids.
kid, yeah. And it really only becomes non-responsible when we have an issue.
Right.
When we identify.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not stuck on the parent or guardian aspect, because like I said, my sophomore watches my second grader
Right,
all the time at home when I'm,
and
Gone,
currently
so-
our policy doesn't allow for that. Yeah.
right.
I think it does, doesn't it? Say that if they are with an older sibling?
No,
Or
it
does
says
it just said they
older
had to be
siblings
sixth grade?
do not
Okay,
qualify as supervisors.
okay.
Older siblings or youth child care providers will not qualify
Oh,
as
okay, I didn't
supervisors.
realize that part was in But if you just took that part out,
Well, you could say just
I mean, it might-
supervised, but it doesn't have to specify like
Right.
who.
And then we just acknowledge that it's not. So, go with my changes and then add a bullet point in there that says all students, grade, give me the grade, and below, may only attend, if supervised.
K through 3?
I would just say like third, I just said third and below.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look on some, I'll work on language and come back next
Yeah.
month. Okay. Right now, know how, we're kind of managing games, like we're not being
Yeah.
hardcore on anything, but, maybe with the exception of granted, but, in a couple weeks, you got Claire and I that, and stuff. And I think we had some issues where like your AD was the game management, but then they're also coaching. That's not, in volleyball, football, and basketball, that's not preferable to have. Not to say that's an absolute, but it's. Okay, I'll come back with,
So let's table that,
so, okay.
table both.
Yeah, just tabled all of the.
All right, increase the substitute rate to
Hey,
reflect the 2026 increase.
just did this. So a little different than last time, however, is, the minimum wage went from $10.55, where we had just raised it to, it's now $2.85, so that's a 2.8%. It was $10.55, it's now $10.85, that's a 2.8% increase. So my recommendation is to increase substitute rates by 2.8%. So a lot of times you take care of this one, but there's other ones also out there, so we have a couple of long-term rates go up by 2.8%. Some people with advanced degrees get paid a little bit more, so you're taking, by approving this, you'd be taking care of Boston.
All right. Any questions? Do I have a motion to increase the substitute rate by 2.8%?
Make a motion to increase the substitute rate by 2%.
All right, Julie has a first, do I have a second?
I'll second.
There is seconds. Any public comment? Board comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right, motion carried. All right, superintendent evaluation.
You guys actually need a form before you can evaluate me, so
Weird.
if you would approve the form. The first paragraph there is just like, to make sure that we have a stated process. Typically, the time to evaluate superintendent would be initiated in January, wrap it up by March, kind of thing. Big thing there for me is comments also, it's just, and I'm not, like, I looked at some templates and I'd simply go, like a 5-point scale and all this stuff, and I was like, no, you're either doing it, or come on, you do better here. And these were areas major areas that kind of were common, amongst the ones that I found. If whatever you approve, I'll send it to you electronically, so, you guys can handwrite it and stuff. Typically, what would happen is you would submit these to the board president. I did tell Darcy that I can't touch them until you're done with it. And then you'd give it to kind of Darcy to collate, and then we would meet in closed session. for you guys to go over it. I am not going to do what some superintendents do. They hook, like, positive evaluation automatically gives you a year extension on your contract. No, it automatically gives you a raise. No, this will stay completely independent of all of that process. It's just, we need to formally communicate. You know, we informally communicate, but then, like, this is what I'd like to see you guys do moving towards.
So this is just the first reading, do you want us to just come back if we have any questions for them?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'd come back, approve it hopefully next month, and then you'd have a few weeks to, you know, fill it out, get it to Brenna. Brenna then, you know, gets it, and then we can agendize a closed session, and then you guys go in March.
Perfect. Any questions on that one? All right. Easy. All right, hiring candidate for the part-time custodial position.
Okay, so their name is not in your packet, but their resume is at the table. We interviewed this evening, thank you, Julie, for coming. We interviewed a Trevor Tolan for our part-time custodial position. This position is 20 hours a week, 5 hours, 4 days a week. And it's only for students' contact days. So it's only for days in which kids are here. This would get us back to our custodial hours that we had prior to Derek Perez moving part-time into his teaching role.
All right, any questions? Okay, do I have a motion, to accept, Trevor Tolan for the part-time custodial position?
I make a motion to recommend Trevor Tolan for part-time custodial position.
Right, Marlene has a first, or has a second?
I'll second it.
You do a second, any public comment? Board comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alright, motion carried. Alright, resignation from Danny Fries, did everybody get a chance to read that?
So Danny had until March 1st. I'd just really like to recognize and appreciate, I saw her at the game last Saturday night, prior to us coming back, and she said, hey, Tom, I'll be in Monday to do this. I just, you know, she had until March 1st, until it's no longer her, you know, call, and I just so appreciate it, because it helps us planning.
Right, do I have a motion to approve, Daniel Fry's resignation?
I will make a motion to approve Danielle Fry's resignation.
Alright, do I have a first or a second?
I'll second it.
Any seconds, public comment? Board comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right, motion carried. Got a district attendance agreement?
So, I'm not familiar with where this individual lives. So it's in your packet with all the personal information redacted, but at the table there, we missed this, and we need to, at the beginning of the year, so we just need to take care of that.
Right.
And then, yes, Brennan would, if you approve it, Brennan would sign it.
Alright, do I have a motion to, accept the out-of-district attendance agreement?
I'll make the motion to accept the out-of-district attendance agreement.
Who has a first, or a second?
I'll second it.
Marlene seconds, public comment? Board comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alright, motion carried. Do you have a reason for closed session? Alright, it is 8:18. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:18.
Sarah had first, do I have a second? Any seconds? Public comment? Board comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Oh, what did we do that? Billy wasn't here to fight with me about it. It was a bummer.